Welcome to YouTube Pedia. Discover the greatest stories from history, science, and beyond. If you're curious about the world, subscribe now and join our journey through knowledge. Let's get started. Rodney Dangerfield, the untold journey of a comedy legend. In the world of comedy, few names resonate with the same charm, wit, and self-deprecating brilliance as Rodney Dangerfield. The man who built his legacy on the famous line, "I get no respect," wasn't just a comedian, he was a cultural phenomenon. But behind the laughs, the oversized suits, and the bulging eyes lay a story of struggle, resilience, and an undying passion for making people smile. Before he became a household name, Rodney Dangerfield was just a boy named Jacob Rodney Cohen, navigating a life filled with hardship, rejection, and an almost tragic detour from comedy. A childhood marked by hardship. Born on November 22, 1921 in Babylon, New York, young Jacob faced an uphill battle from the very beginning. His father, Phil Roy, was a vaudevillian performer, a man whose passion for entertainment led him to abandon his own family. Rodney's mother, Dorothy, was distant and indifferent, showing little affection toward her son. This lack of parental warmth left a profound mark on young Jacob, instilling in him the deep-seated insecurity that would later fuel his comedic persona. Growing up in Queens, Rodney was no stranger to hardship. As a child, he found himself constantly craving validation, a theme that would become the foundation of his comedic career. But he quickly realized that humor was his best defense against the cruelty of the world. By the time he was in high school, he had already started writing jokes, performing them wherever he could, at parties, on the streets, even in school hallways. The painful road to comedy. At just 15 years old, Rodney began performing stand-up under the stage name Jack Roy. His early years in comedy were anything but glamorous. Struggling to make ends meet, he performed in rundown clubs and dive bars where the audiences were often hostile and uninterested. He endured countless nights of rejection, and by the time he reached his mid-20s, he realized that comedy wasn't paying the bills. Feeling defeated, Rodney made the unthinkable decision to step away from his dreams. He took on a series of odd jobs, selling aluminum siding, painting houses, and working as a truck driver just to survive. For nearly a decade, he lived an ordinary life, completely detached from the comedy world. But deep inside, the fire never truly died. The stage kept calling him back, and eventually he couldn't ignore it any longer. Reinvention. Rodney Dangerfield is born. In the early 1960s, after years of living in anonymity, Jack Roy decided to make a comeback. But this time, he needed a fresh start, an identity that would redefine him. And so, Rodney Dangerfield was born. The name, borrowed from an old Jack Benny routine, became the mask behind which he could hide his pain and channel his humor. Rodney crafted a unique comedic style, the perpetually disrespected everyman, a walking embodiment of bad luck and failed relationships. His self-deprecating humor struck a chord with audiences who saw in him a reflection of their own struggles. His catchphrase, "I get no respect," was more than just a punchline, it was a philosophy, a comedic truth that resonated with the common man. His big break came in 1967 when he appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show. That performance changed everything. Almost overnight, Rodney went from an unknown middle-aged man trying to revive his career to a rising star in the comedy world. The audience loved him, and for the first time in his life, he felt something he had always craved: respect. The rise to stardom. Throughout the 1970s, Rodney became a frequent guest on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, where his rapid-fire jokes and signature delivery made him a fan favorite. He developed a persona that was both tragic and hilarious, a man constantly down on his luck but always willing to laugh about it. But Rodney wasn't just a performer, he was a comedy pioneer. In 1969, he opened Dangerfield's Comedy Club in New York, a venue that would go on to launch the careers of future legends like Jerry Seinfeld, Jim Carrey, and Adam Sandler. Rodney had struggled for decades to earn his place in the comedy world, but now he was creating opportunities for others. By the time he entered the 1980s, Rodney was no longer just a comedian, he was an icon. His humor transcended the stage, finding its way into movies, advertisements, and even music. But behind the success, the laughter, and the spotlight, there was still a man grappling with the scars of his past. Rodney Dangerfield, from comedy's king to a lasting legacy. In the first chapter of Rodney Dangerfield's life, we explored his turbulent childhood, early struggles, and eventual rise to fame as the king of self-deprecating humor. But Rodney's journey was far from over. The man who spent years craving respect would go on to achieve stardom in Hollywood, leave an indelible mark on stand-up comedy, and fight personal battles behind the scenes, all while continuing to make the world laugh. This is the story of Rodney Dangerfield's golden years, his foray into films, his personal struggles, and the profound legacy he left behind. Hollywood and the big screen breakthrough. By the time the 1980s rolled around, Rodney Dangerfield had already established himself as one of the biggest names in stand-up comedy. His performances on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson and The Ed Sullivan Show had made him a household name, but he wasn't satisfied with just conquering the comedy club circuit. He wanted to take Hollywood by storm. In 1980, Rodney got his chance with the cult classic Caddyshack. Starring alongside comedic giants like Chevy Chase and Bill Murray, Rodney played the unforgettable Al Chervik, a loud, obnoxious, and hilariously disrespectful real estate tycoon who clashed with the snobby elite at an upscale golf club. His fast-paced one-liners, over-the-top antics, and larger-than-life personality stole the show. Despite being surrounded by seasoned comedic actors, Rodney was the undeniable breakout star of the film. Hey baby, you must have been something before electricity. With Caddyshack, Rodney proved that his brand of humor could translate to the big screen. Audiences loved him, critics praised his performance, and Hollywood took notice. This was just the beginning of his film career. From stand-up to movie star. After the success of Caddyshack, Rodney was no longer just a stand-up comedian. He was a bona fide movie star. The offers poured in, and in 1983 he starred in Easy Money, a comedy about a gambling, womanizing slacker who must clean up his act to inherit a fortune. The film was a moderate success, but it was merely a warm-up for what would become Rodney's most iconic role. In 1986, Rodney starred in Back to School, a comedy about a wealthy but uneducated businessman who enrolls in college to help his struggling son. The film was a smash hit, grossing over $91 million at the box office. Rodney was at the peak of his career, proving that his comedic genius extended beyond stand-up. His signature humor, self-deprecating, fast-paced, and perfectly timed, made him a favorite among moviegoers. I tell you, I don't get no respect at all. I looked up my family tree and found out I'm the sap. Despite his on-screen success, Rodney never abandoned his true passion, stand-up. Even at the height of his film career, he continued to perform in sold-out venues, delivering the same rapid-fire jokes that had made him famous. Personal struggles behind the laughter. While Rodney's professional life was soaring, his personal life was often filled with darkness. Throughout his career, he battled depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. The man who made millions laugh was, at times, deeply unhappy. His marriages were tumultuous. He married his first wife, Joyce Indig, in the 1950s, but their relationship was fraught with issues, leading to divorce. They remarried years later, only to divorce once again. The pain of these failed relationships weighed heavily on him, further fueling his self-deprecating humor. Despite his struggles, Rodney found solace in comedy. Making people laugh was his therapy, his escape from the pain he carried inside. He often joked about his personal life on stage, turning his hardships into humor. My wife and I were happy for 20 years, then we met. His ability to turn his own suffering into comedy was both his greatest strength and his deepest tragedy. The world saw a man who was always laughing, but few knew the battles he was fighting behind the scenes. A comedic legacy that lives on. By the 1990s, Rodney was already a legend in the comedy world, but he wasn't done yet. He continued to perform, act, and even ventured into music, releasing the novelty rap album Rappin' Rodney in 1983. The song's music video became one of the first comedic videos to air on MTV, proving that Rodney's appeal knew no bounds. As the years passed, he received the recognition he had long sought. He became a beloved mentor to rising comedians, helping launch the careers of future stars like Jim Carrey and Jerry Seinfeld. Comedians young and old revered him, crediting him as an inspiration and a pioneer of stand-up. His final years were marked by declining health, but he never stopped working. Even in his 70s, he continued to perform, making guest appearances in TV shows and films. In 2004, Rodney underwent heart surgery, but complications led to his passing on October 5, 2004. The comedy world mourned the loss of a legend. His tombstone fittingly reads, "There goes the neighborhood." Even in death, Rodney Dangerfield found a way to make people laugh. It's why Rodney will never be forgotten. Rodney Dangerfield was more than just a comedian. He was a symbol of perseverance, proof that success could come at any stage of life. He didn't achieve fame until he was well into his 40s, but when he did, he made sure the world would never forget him. His jokes remain timeless. His movies continue to entertain new generations. His influence on comedy is immeasurable. Most importantly, Rodney gave the world something invaluable: laughter. And in a world that often feels heavy, his humor remains a gift, one that keeps on giving. Though he built his career on the idea that he got no respect, in reality, Rodney Dangerfield earned more respect than he ever imagined. Rest in peace, Rodney. You'll always have our respect. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to YouTube Pedia. Your support helps us bring you more amazing stories. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an upload.